What's up, everybody? This is Esoteric Nomad, and I'm back today with this will probably be a couple of things that I speak on. I'll try to be mindful of the time frame because it's a lot that I feel like Spirit has been giving me to speak on, and there's been some delays in that, and me wanting to make sure I feel more educated about some of the topics that I wanted to speak on. I think all in all, it comes down to intuitively feeling guided and trusting that. And that is what I am here to do. So I'm going to jump right into it, guys. And I will put this disclaimer out here, reminding everyone that we live in America. If you're listening to this in America, which I'm assuming you are. But we live in America, and with that, we have the privilege of free speech. Now, yes, this privilege is limited because so many people are shadow banned and silenced for speaking their truth, if it is not convenient for the powers that be that hear it. If it is going to possibly direct the masses to doing something unfavorable to how the system wants things done, a lot of times those people will be silenced. We all know this. We've seen it everywhere. And it's kind of like we're seeing the duality right now in our country. Like there's a lot that's being silenced, a lot that's not being spoken about, and yet also at the same time, a lot of truth is being exposed. And so in that, I feel like as humanity, we are experiencing a version of duality firsthand, and how two things do exist simultaneously, how they've always existed simultaneously. Just the degree to which they have might be more highlighted during this time. Because I personally have not seen a lot of truth exposed on this level in all of my 38 levels of being here on Earth. Not to say it hasn't, it's just that I have been aware of it is a first for me. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, I think, for anybody if you are not afraid of having your truth exposed. And I don't mean that in a challenging way or I'm trying to remove the negative connotation from having truth exposed. Because ultimately, the reason why a lot of people fear that is because they have things that they may not want others to know. And in those things that they don't want others to know, there's usually a couple of things attached, right? There's shame, there's guilt, there's embarrassment, there's possible self-loathing, there's possible self-hatred, there's fear. There's so much that is attached to the things that we often don't want other people to know. And I hope that humanity, I see a day where we can start to become more comfortable with our skeletons in the closet, with our, quote, shadow side, because it's there to teach us. It's not there to be weaponized. It's not there to be used against us. And unfortunately, a lot of us have had certain things that maybe we weren't ready to share, weaponized against us, exposed, put on blast, outed, however you want to describe it. That's been a lot of our experiences. And so in that, there's even more stigma associated with keeping things quiet and not speaking on them. And now I will say that everybody's journey is unique and different, in that not everybody heals in the same way. So I'm not going to say that everyone needs to just speak their truth and that's going to be what heals us. I will say that a lot of us do need to speak our truth, and for a lot of us that will be what heals us. I'm not going to say that for everybody. I try not to generalize. But I do know for a fact that that is healing for a great many of us. And if you haven't tried it, it'd be worth a shot. When you think about it, the things that we're scared of, the things that we don't want to share with others, it only has that power if we give it, right? Because if you're cool, if you've become comfortable with whatever used to be a skeleton in your closet. Like, I'm going to use sexuality as an example just because I am a member of the LGBTQ community, and this could be an example for somebody out there. Like, if you are in the closet, say, and there's fear with coming out for whatever reason, like say, your family is religious, or your family just isn't accepting, your community isn't accepting, you're in a place of influence or power, and There's fear attached to what people will think when that comes out. These are totally natural things that we as humans will think and contemplate before we are making a decision, right? And this has been a lot of people's experience, specifically with being in the closet. And there's no shame in that. I'm not saying any of this to judge people. I'm just saying it for what it is. Like, this is what happens. And in that, if someone becomes comfortable with themselves, with their sexuality, and they're like, I've made peace with this. I no longer care what others think. And like, this is a process. This isn't something you just snap your fingers and it's done. It's not. But I think people don't want to go through the process that will introduce you to possible self-loathing. It's not constant. It's not the end all be all, but it is a step you have to go through. You have to face personal shame. You have to face your shadow side, not wanting to let it out. People try to skip steps. I've tried to skip steps in the past. I'm not trying to guilt or condemn or persecute anybody who is afraid of facing themselves, because it's not easy. It's not. I actually see why a lot of people don't choose to go down that road. I still feel like going down this road is absolutely necessary to personal evolution and healing. I also know that it's not easy. And so I try to have compassion for the parts of humanity that aren't quite ready to take that leap. I do feel like that it is necessary for a great many of us to face those parts of ourselves. And so in that, if we do, and say, like in the example that I was using, if someone becomes comfortable with themselves in their sexuality, there's no longer the fear, there's no longer the shame, they no longer care what people think, they're ready to face that, and they've made peace with it, then when they do it, it can no longer be weaponized against them. Someone can't come to them someone can still come to them and try to weaponize it. Sure, people will always try to do things, but the effect that it will have on the individual will be different, or it can be different. It can be different because if you've made peace with it, how is someone else? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Like, people can't weaponize things against us that we have made personal peace with. I mean, they're going to try because people are people and all of that, but it becomes increasingly difficult for others to use something against you that you have embraced. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not worried about it, if there's no more fear, there's no more shame, someone coming to you trying to make you feel fear and feel shame, now they might still make an attempt. And that might still occur to a certain extent just because we're human and we have emotions and, projection is real and we can be influenced by those things. But it's not going to be to the same as if we had that person not made peace with it. It's going to be different if the person had made peace with it. It's not going to affect them on the same level. And so that's what I'm like, we have this formula, this amazing, it's like Spirit is telling us this is what you can do to free yourself. And yet a lot of people will still opt not to go down that route. And I get why, right? Let's go through some of the reasons why. Like, if we haven't done something before, if we haven't had an experience, it's easy to be apprehensive about it. It's easy to have the anxiety about taking that first step. Doing anything for the first time can be accompanied by a great amount of fear. I remember when I moved to San Antonio and I was there and I was new in the city for the first time and having to take the bus for the first time, I was scared. I didn't know the bus system, even though I had the route planned out. I had the app, I had my ticket. I was, for all intents and purposes, I was prepared, I was ready, but I was still scared because it was something I hadn't done before. You have those doubts of like, well, what if I take the wrong route? There's just things you don't want to experience. And so the fear is there. It's okay. But then, I took the first trip, the second trip, and after a while, it was like second nature, and I was fine. It's the same for a lot of us in any situation. First day on the job, you get the butterflies. There's some fear involved. Like, you don't know if the people are going to like you. You start to doubt yourself. Like, can I really do my job as well as I thought I could? Any number of things can come up. I'm just giving some examples. But after a while, you look back on your first day when you're like a seasoned pro now at whatever you're doing, and it's like, why was I concerned? Like, we're doing things on autopilot. When a lot of us started to drive, it was like hands at 10 and 2. It was, a lot of us were scared to get on the interstate. I know I was. It was a little scary. And now what are we doing? We're driving with our knees, we're texting. Not that we should. I'm not condoning this, but it's the reality. This is what a lot of us are doing. I'm saying this to say that it's become second nature. It's the same thing with overcoming our fears. It's the same things with making peace with whatever we feel like we are ashamed of. People say that fear is a great indicator for where you can just take a leap ahead in growth. Like if you want to maximize your life, if you want to propel yourself into your personal evolution, and really, really take a huge stride toward becoming your higher self, confront your fear. Because on the other side of that is going to be one step closer to whatever your greatest imagining is. Like, I feel like it's common knowledge that a lot of times, like if we don't take those steps, if we don't confront our fears, that, well, where we hold ourselves back. We do that. And like when I say these things, I still don't want to sound, I will repeat this, I'm not trying to sound insensitive to the human condition. I get it. I am still a human myself. I am still existing with human emotions, and I can speak on things and still have personal experience with whatever I'm speaking on. I think that's another thing in society that we don't always acknowledge. Like, we feel like if someone is ready to speak on something, then they have to be like a pro, a master at it. That means that they are no longer like if someone is against, I don't know. I don't even know what to use an example. But a lot of times we will look at people sideways if they're giving advice about something. And if we perceive them to not have mastered this in their own life, a lot of times we won't believe that person with their advice. I hope you're following what I'm trying to say. Like you can be trying to tell somebody, have you tried this? Have you tried this step? And that person might direct it, well, what about you in your situation? Have you ever, like in that instance where people try to deflect and turn things around because there's like that doubt. A lot of people don't really believe that they can, like that you can speak on something credibly unless whatever you're speaking on in your own life, you've mastered. And that's not the reality. It's not. I do believe that if you are speaking on something, there needs to be some lived experience. There needs to be some lessons learned and some growth. And that's I feel like that's absolutely necessary. And with all things, use your discernment with whatever you're listening to. Always think for yourself. But to say that we have to master something to speak on it, I think it's a little silly. Because I don't know how many of us have mastered. I guess it depends on what your definition of mastered is, which I could go into a whole nother episode about our definitions of words and how some words can mean completely different things to different people, but it's the same word. I don't want to get off track though. I'm just saying that it's another example of duality. Like we can speak on things credibly and know what we're talking about and still have areas of our life where we could still use some growth in whatever we're speaking on. It's okay. And I say that in part because there's a lot of things I speak on that I'm still and will probably continue to be going through growth with. I don't expect, like when I take advice from someone, I do look for some things. I do look to see in their own life how well they are like walking in alignment with whatever it is that they're speaking. I do. I look to see if they've had a couple of experiences and then the lessons that they've taken from those experiences, if they're willing to speak on that. Being willing to speak on it is a huge thing for me that I try to pay attention to with other people. Because you have to hear like, what is the takeaway? What did you take from this? How has it changed you? But do I believe that person is a pro? That they are suddenly a step above human and they're just like, they have no fault? Absolutely not. I don't believe that. There was a while that I think subconsciously, putting on those rose-tinted glasses, as we hear it called, because of whatever reason. Humanity is complicated. Human emotions are complicated, and the things we subconsciously attach ourselves to, the beliefs about other people, without even fully knowing them, I can't always explain why we do that. But it's something that we do. It's something that I've done. It's sort of like you kind of put all your faith in someone based off of a certain number of things that appeal to you for whatever reason. And then later on down the road, like, it's like setting an expectation. And so like later on down the road, if that person doesn't fulfill that expectation, suddenly feeling like, well, why did I trust them? I think these are all human things that we think about sometimes with certain people. I don't have the answers as to why that occurs entirely, but I think just having the awareness is critical. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I feel like have been just like put on my heart to speak about. Is the best way that I can really put it. And I don't say anything with the feeling of, oh, I've mastered this. Oh, I'm a pro at this. Absolutely not. God, no. I think the beautiful thing about free speech is that we can help each other. We can all rally together and we can really help each other based off of our lived experiences. Everybody has something that can help someone else. And unfortunately, if you look around at the society, we're a little bit selfish. All in all, I'm saying, like, on average, as a whole, I feel like society, we are, and it's not to condemn, it's not to, make us feel shame or guilt or anything. It's to acknowledge it, so maybe we can try to shift out of that mode. But I feel like as a society, we can be selfish in a sense of like, oh, it's really just us out here. Nobody else affects me and I don't affect anybody else. And like, not to say that that's your personal belief, but that is some people's personal belief. I hope that we're becoming more aware of how interconnected we are and how something across the world can influence us in our present day life. You can watch the news and your mood be affected. That's just a surface level example of how the energy of something happening across the world can literally have an impact on your daily life. Something happening across oceans can enrage someone, can break someone's heart. And yet a lot of people will still stand by the fact of, oh, well, that doesn't affect me. It's affecting you. It may not be affecting you in the sense of what you thought that would be, but like it's not knocking on your front door necessarily yet, but it's affecting you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's there. I have a point to all of this. I really believe in a world where community is the driving force. Community and love. We've seen across America how people can rally together for a negative cause or for a beautiful cause. And I say negative in the sense of something driven by hate, something driven by fear. People rally together with their emotions, and in those crowds and in those emotions, we can accomplish great feats. And when I say great feats, that can be towards the negative spectrum of thing, that can be on the positive spectrum of thing. Humanity can create amazing things, good or bad. It's mind-blowing to me sometimes how we're shown how, like, if we can just come together on some things. Like, what would happen if we all just, had an uprising? If we all just said enough is fucking enough at the same time, what would happen? Think about it, if you haven't already. I know a lot of us are already in that space of like, the revolution, let's get it. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. I've been having this discussion with certain people in my inner circle, but I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. I really hope so. I really feel like I'm seeing the beginnings of it. I'm seeing the brainstorming stages of it, at least. I don't know if I'll see it before I am old and, passed on to the next life. I really don't want to come back, but, still, I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. But I do hope that I see the beginning stages, the foundation, the framework being built for the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation. Because we're all waking up to a certain extent. Now, whether you believe in what the majority of people believe around you, it's like there is this wave of energy that is encouraging us all to sort of look around. Like, I think it's getting increasingly difficult to just stay in ourselves, in our own world, watch our reality TV and, talk about the Super Bowl and shit. Like, not to say that you shouldn't enjoy these things. Absolutely enjoy your human experience. And also, I feel like it's important to be mindful of what else is happening. Just be mindful. I'm not going to tell you how mindful to be or how involved to be, because I do realize that we are all on different stages of our journey. Not all of us are meant to have a spiritual revolution in this lifetime. I know that may not be a popular opinion with some people in the spiritual community, but I mean, it's genuinely what I believe. Like, not all of us are meant to have that. That's not what all of us chose. When we came here, not all of us wanted to face our inner demons and to face our shadows and to heal and to grow and to transform the world. Some of us just wanted to come to have the human experience, to watch our reality TV, to gossip with our friends, and to move on to the next life. I'm not going to say how I feel on that either way. That's someone else's experience. I know it's not personally mine. I've tried to become really, really mindful of the judgments that I kind of unconsciously make about other people around me, other people that I perceive to not be on the same path as me. Like, that's okay. Now, I can also choose how closely I associate with those people, and that is my choice. And that's the beautiful thing. Like, I don't have to try to influence anyone else, but I can decide who is in my inner circle, because there will be people that are aligned with me on my timeline and that are striving for personal evolution, spiritual growth at all costs, transforming the world with love, because I feel like that's the ultimate thing. It's like, I'm going to give this example briefly, and then I'm going to probably wrap this up because I feel like I'm a bit all over the place with this. But the movie Monsters, Inc. So, right, the monsters, they cashed in on these kids because of their fear, their screams. Fast forward throughout the movie, get to the end. By the end, they're cashing in on the children's laughter. Turns out that it brings in so much more energy and power and money. I feel like the powers that be are scared. They're scared. And I'm not trying to say that in a mocking way, but they are. They're scared. They've been doing something for a really long time and it's worked. In a sense, I don't blame them. It's worked for this long. It's brought in massive amount of money. Cool. Why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The thing is that society is shifting. Society isn't asleep anymore. We're all asking questions. And so I feel like just something to put on your mind. What would happen if we started to shift into an energy of love and really ask yourself what that looks like for you? Now, I'm not going to tell you what it should look like, but I will tell you to really examine love in all its forms and how you're showing that to other people, and not just the people that it's easy to love, because that's the easy part, right? We love our spouses, we love our children, we love our pets. Cool. No, I'm talking about the people that we see pumping out hate on the internet. We see, like racism, bigotry, just anything that might be difficult for you to wrap your mind around. Think about love in that sense, because that's what it's going to take for us to evolve. It's going to take us loving those around us that need that extra love. Now, whatever that looks like that's up to the individual. I'm not going to speak on that. I'm never going to tell someone what they should do, because I'm not them. I know for me and myself, I am just trying to practice love. But that's going to look different in a lot of times, and that's okay, and it's a work in progress, and I'm still figuring that out. But just please, y'all, be mindful of, we are not alone in this. We are individuals, and we are all connected. The things you think you cannot control, you can do something. You can do something. And if you don't want to do something, that's fine. There's no judgment there. But be honest with yourself about it. Be honest, because that's going to take away the power from others who might try to use that against you. If we are honest about the things in ourselves that might ruffle feathers, it lessens the power that other people try to use against us. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I've got a lot going on in my universe at the moment. I know I've been talking about this blog page coming. It is still coming, I promise. But yeah, like, share, follow, subscribe if it resonates. I appreciate anybody who's rocking with me. I'm just trying to introduce a new perspective, guys. It may not even be that new, but I feel like it's meant for some. So if you're rocking with it, subscribe. I appreciate you. I love you. Stay safe out there in these cosmic streets. Namaste.